So, well, here I'm with Jeff Schiefelbein. Is that right?
I say Schiefelbein, but I don't even think I
Schiefelbein.
say it right.
Is that German?
It is German. I know I
Yeah.
don't pronounce it correctly, but it's Schiefelbein to me.
Schiefelbein, great.
Yes.
And we have Lilo Ramos.
Yes, Lilo. Well, Luziel, but most people call me Lilo.
Oh, okay, Lilo. Okay, like Lilo and Stitch. Okay.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, I'm Luciana. I'm a culture coach. I really want to learn more from companies like yours that are very much into the what is the culture of the company and how to improve it. And why you're here in this research is because you are part of the company, Energy Company 5, and you were awarded by the best place to work on Inc. magazine. So I think that's a great
Yes.
accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're proud.
Oh, yes, yes, I can imagine you're super proud. So that's why I would like to know more about the things that you do that, I mean, why you got this award, what make you unique, especially I think in the energy business, all your insights will be super fantastic, would be super useful,
Sure.
and especially in time of crisis, right? We're having people working remotely, so I'd like to know how it's working for you. Do you have people working remotely? No. What are the next steps or extra things that you needed to do to make this happen? How are you keeping you engaged? Well, I'm gonna let's talk about
Open it up.
just yes. So let's start with what you do for the company right now and what the company does and what are your main things that you can
Sure.
talk about it.
It'll be fun. I think that you kind of set it up nicely too, because after our intros, it'll be nice to say what makes a company like ours so strong, and then how is that kind of translated through this time of social distancing. So I'm one of the founders of this firm. We started it 8.5 years ago, really at the end of 2011, after we had been part of a team that sold an energy company in the electricity space. And my title is Chief Culture Officer, but
Mhm.
truly, for a culture to thrive, you can't rely on just the people at the top or just a singular person to be in charge of it. Culture, we all have them. It's just whether or not we're being intentional about a culture. So, as the
Exactly.
Chief Culture Officer, I'm actually responsible for our sales, marketing, recruiting, and pieces of our HR. If you think about just managing people through tough times, is really kind of that coaching and managing piece.
So there's
Also,
also someone from HR, or you do
no,
work
we don't really
together,
have an HR. We
like
outsource all of the just functional
administrative?
pieces of
Yeah.
HR,
Hmm.
benefits and all that stuff. When you have a great culture, you actually don't need a full-time HR person, and that's one of the
Hmm.
major benefits. Is all
Agree.
of the ROI of a great culture, right? People thrive, they take care of each other, they're accountable to one another, they're not exiting as often. It's easier to get them. To retain them, all those great things. But I'll stop for a second and let Lilo tell you who she is and what she does.
Welcome.
Um, my name is Luziel, but most people call me Lilo, and I'm actually I call myself the Michelangelo. It's partly because I do a lot of digital marketing, and so the design. I'm part of the sales and marketing team. We call it Smarketing, and we're a part of that little small group. And I think I agree a lot with what Jeff says. And I've worked for other companies also. And I was actually in HR, and you know our culture is very different from
Hmm.
previous companies that I work with. I'm very proud to be part of Five.
Wow, that's good.
And she, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, was an intern and then worked her way into a full-time role with all the great work that
Yep.
she's done and the cultural fit that she's been for us. But I want to say something real quick. She called herself Michelangelo. It's on her business card. It's on her email.
Yes. Why?
One of the one of the things that we always do is have some fun but also meaningful freedom around even titles. We have people at our company that are Zoltars, where the from the movie Big, where the guy gets a quarter in his mouth and makes your wishes come true. So some of our analysts are Zoltars. We have a pit boss that's in charge of our pit crew, utility infielders. We have really fun titles, but it actually all stems back to the origins of naming a company a single digit, right? It's not even
Right.
FIVE. The name of our company is the digit 5. And that comes from a tribute to culture. So from day one, we knew that we wanted to create an amazing culture where fully formed adults were brought in to thrive and create and do something bigger than what they could do on their own. And there's a book called Tribal Leadership, and it really talks through the stages of tribes. And if you skip the first two for a second, stage 3 is what most of us live in sports and education and business, which is I'm great and you're not. And we kind of always position ourselves. Stage 4 is somewhat transcendent because you become a we're great and they're not culture. So you have a worthy adversary and a noble goal that you're trying to achieve. You can think of groups like Conscious Capitalism. You can think of companies like Southwest Airlines that have a very level 4 approach, like we're great, let's do something great, let's help people. And then level 5 transcends competition. It's not a place that you can stay, but it's where you have a breakthrough and almost a euphoric moment in a business or in a tribe or in a culture where you did something that you didn't even know was possible, and now you're
Mhm.
you're creating like a new high water mark to go and try to achieve again. But that's why you can't stay there. You've now expanded the boundaries of what's possible, and you get to keep kind of going through that. So 5
Wow.
is that trigger that says we're not blah 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 energy consulting. We are 5 because this is truly a company that says if we build the right culture, we will be able to have an impact on every stakeholder that we meet: employees, clients, vendors, spouses, and families of our employees. Everybody that we come in contact with should be better for our existence. It just so happens that energy, and specifically electricity and natural gas, is where our expertise lies. And we're
Wow.
using that
Hmm.
expertise to fulfill that goal of making the world better.
Oh, that's
It's a
wonderful.
lot.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's great when you have a company that have that so clear because I think that's the way that you help employees to be more autonomous, to be able to make decisions based on those principles and those ideas, right? So you mentioned also that you
absolutely
have
right.
some principles that are guide how
Yes.
you manage your business.
Yeah, we do. So we have 5 core values. Sorry, everything's
Hmm.
5. I should be clear about that. We have 5 core values. And the way that we think about these for a second is that we're not looking for people to change anything about themselves to match our core values. We're looking
Right.
for people who naturally have the same core values that we do. And
Hmm.
so that way it's tactical. We can sprint in the same general direction without having to look to our right or our left to wonder, is somebody else doing something that they shouldn't? Is somebody undermining my work? It's that the team sells, the team serves, the team solves, and the team both celebrates and holds themselves accountable, right? So the 5 core values of our company are all one word: excellence, integrity, um, fun, which fun is not just about laughing. Fun is
Hmm.
also about overcoming difficult obstacles or challenges. I'm making sure I'm saying this right. Integrity. What did I just say? Excellence,
Excellence,
accountability,
integrity,
Excellence.
fun.
fun.
Look at this. I would fail right now if I were being put on the spot. I like helped to craft this whole thing. Leela's looking it
Did
up for me. I know what you're doing.
you say honesty?
No, honesty,
No,
integrity, excellence,
Mhm.
accountability, and fun.
there you go.
Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, excellent.
It's a very important one. I just needed
That's
the
part of the
trigger.
fun, right?
Hey, I'm just telling you, I've been stuck in this room for 2 months because of social distancing, and my brain has shut parts of it off.
Wow, no, that's great. So you have those principles, and that I think guide everything you do. You mentioned that the people that you hire are aligned to that. So I guess that your hiring process is involved with these principles somehow.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's what you're looking for in the character questions that you're going through, and in the references that you're trying to pick up on. But it's also the way that you onboard people, because
Hmm.
someone may have it in them innately that they want to be a part of a culture where they're able to contribute to a team from a standard of excellence, or they think honesty is important, but they've never been in a company where you're actually supposed to speak up and contribute.
Hmm.
Honesty is just a word on a wall, and you're supposed to stay to yourself and not say anything. So
Right.
you can't always say that somebody's walking in on day one. In fact, it's rare, ready to be fully indoctrinated in the culture. You have to prove to them a little bit over time that we're walking the walk, and that
Hmm.
Lilo, as an intern, should be able to stand up at an all company meeting and say, you know, I have a concern, or I see what we're doing here, but doesn't that seem counter to how that's going to impact our supplier relationships? Whatever it is, and that we don't say, sit down, intern. We say, Lila makes a great point, or I raise my
Mm-hmm.
hand, my partners raise their hand and say, I want to tell y'all where I had blinders and missed something that we
Mm-hmm.
should have done differently. And that goes so far. In fact, let me give you a good example of this.
Sure.
One of the biggest moments of people realizing what our culture is when they get to the end of their first year and they're going through, instead of it being a yearly review where you get a
Mm-hmm.
ranking and a raise or a bonus, you
Yeah.
actually go through an annual coaching session. And
Okay.
there's an owner, somebody from the pit crew, somebody from the sales team, um, somebody from the management team in there. And the coaching session is a self-reflection. Here were my goals. I did or didn't meet them. It's very kind of black and white, non-emotional. And then one at a time, each person. So let's say I'm one of the owners of the company.
Mm-hmm.
One at a time, starting with Lilo, she would say, Jeff, here's your strengths and here's your weaknesses and here's the community conversation about you when you're not in the room. This is kind of the sentiment. And
Mm-hmm.
here's the secret that if you could apply this to your life, it would lead to breakthrough results for you personally, for the company. And I, as the person being coached, can't explain, can't justify, can't debate. I can only say thank you, Lilo, and the next person and the next person.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch that a person 1 year out of college is giving that feedback to the CEO or to the CFO, and that person is saying thank you for contributing to me in that moment
In a
of,
constructive way,
oh
right?
yeah, and it's dual vulnerability. You're vulnerable to share and you're
Right.
vulnerable to accept. And so that's often when we see the light bulb go off that people say, I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. I've been waiting to figure out where this really isn't going to hold up. And it's more than I could have ever explained or understood before I started. So
Right.
there's a lot of those very, very intentional parts of our culture that help to build up that foundation and support it.
Yeah, performance reviews are one of the things that companies keep doing, but it's one of the more like they really hurt, especially if you do them just annually and you're trying to say, okay, these are all the things that you did wrong, and well, just to trying to justify the rankings or things like that is really I don't know, it's not constructive for the employee and not for the company either in the long
Yeah,
term.
if somebody feels like they have to have those annual sessions, they should also be having at the very least monthly deep dive coaching one-on-one or group sessions with that person
So
so that
you
you're
have
not
that
getting to the end
too.
of the year.
It's not only annual, but you have that monthly too, or is there any calendar, or you just
Oh, so
on
everybody in
demand?
this company is in some sort of a coaching pattern where they're either
Oh.
being coached by direct supervisors,
Hmm.
owners of the company, or even cross coaching. So there is a whole lot of one-on-one time, pre and post this COVID crisis. We do this quite a bit. We have employees all over the US and Mexico, and my calendar is full of one-on-one coachings every single week. But
Hmm.
what you see, in fact, I just finished one with somebody in Maryland right before this call. What you see is a chance for people to have human connection and dignity
Hmm.
and brainstorming and accountability. They get to contribute back to you, right? They have their own lens of the business and what we're
Hmm.
doing well. um, and then on top of that, it can be additive. You're building on some of the things you've been working on. So take, for example, a new account manager who says, my pricing will be to you soon. I've been doing this, I did this. And the coaching we start to give to that person is, you need to shift away from your I language and into a we language. It shows the strength of our team. It makes the
Yeah.
client feel more comfortable. And oh, by the way, you're not going to derail people from this conversation. Well,
Hmm.
now I'm like taking a very intentional part of who we are, the words we use, and I can build and ask that person, okay, in the last 2 weeks, tell me about a time when you used the language well. Tell me about a time when you were done, you realized it was all about you. And
Hmm.
so you're building on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's
I
ever
talk a lot
surprised in
about
this
the
company. Yeah.
I talk a lot about the we culture because I think that's the way companies should be run these days, especially now with the COVID, right? Thinking about how it's not just about you, but about everyone else and how we all can contribute to the same goals, right?
Yes.
So how does all these coaching sessions that you're doing? So you're doing them online right now. So how is there the transition with COVID? How was it? What did you have to change? What are your challenges?
Yeah. We try to grade ourselves a few weeks into this to say, what would we have done different? What did we do well? We
Wow.
already used Zoom video chats for every single meeting we have. There isn't a single meeting that we do in this company that isn't video based. We do not do phone meetings internally, and we try not to do them externally. So we
Mhm.
were ready to go. All 60 of us have Zoom licenses and use it well for years. We also do everything as a team and with shared information sources so that we never have to worry about somebody who's sick,
Mhm.
traveling, in a bad mental state, whatever it may be. So that was also very seamless to shift.
Mhm.
Um, and
So
we
all the information
realized that there were
was
some things,
available online, so that
oh yeah,
everyone can access
the right
everywhere.
technology that absolutely. And not just that, it was that it wasn't awkward for us to share it. And it wasn't awkward for us to be on video
Mhm.
chatting. It was that we had already been doing that all along.
Wow.
We have people in different parts of the country managing and working with people even across the border into Mexico City.
Mhm.
Some things that I like to point out that are both about pre and post COVID and some of the changes. One is culture is strengthened by shared experiences. I went
Mhm.
to Texas A&M. One of their phrases is, "From the outside looking in, you can't understand it. From the inside looking out, you can explain it." There's something pretty genius about that, because if you were part of an experience that was so unique that when you tried to talk about it, people were like, "Why, you
What?
did what at your company?" Like, and they brought in who, and I don't just mean goofy. I mean meaningful, goofy, challenging, and we've always accomplished that
Different.
through. Oh yeah, yeah. That you're always going to remember, right? It's like reading a book together. Your lingo, your jargon changes because you had that shared experience of reading a book together. We would do and still do these all hands meetings where we bring in everybody together. In fact, while Leela was still an intern, we had our last one in October, and we did all sorts of neat things and challenges throughout the day. And it's a place to be raw and for people to share their heart and for us to appropriately be transparent about everything that's going on in the business. And we finished night one with a talent show, and people that had never met before, from the company we bought in New Jersey to the folks running our operation in Mexico, were, if you watch American Idol or something, and when you start to cheer and almost cry because you're supporting the person on the stage, that was happening as Lilo here was jamming out Lady Gaga. It was incredible, right? You felt supported?
I did, and it's one of those things where like you feel it when you're on stage, and like it makes you want to sing more. And actually, I told Jeff this, that I cried afterwards, like on my way home, because there's so many emotions running through me. I've never done that in front of anyone before. I've never
Wow.
done that, like only with my family, and so doing that and being supported while doing it, it's amazing.
So
So this
that's
meeting is like an annual meeting that you do with all the employees, or
it
what is
is.
it?
Yeah,
All hands, you call it.
it's a 3-day experience, and
Wow.
even my business partners don't know what's coming. There's three of us that plan the entire thing, from the theme to the guest speakers
So you're the
to
co-founder, right, Jeff?
there's yeah, and
Yes.
five of us co-founded this organization. 4 or 5, we added one later to make the name make sense. I'm just kidding. He was awesome. There was 4 of us on day one. But it's really neat because we might bring in somebody who challenges the way we interact as a group. We might bring in um, a competition even around how to explain who our business is, and now all of a sudden you have somebody from the back office or from accounting having to get on stage and talk about what we do, and
Hmm.
it starts to put them in the shoes of a salesperson and vice versa. So we just do a lot of really neat things. And we were feeding giraffes at this last one, and having cocktails with monkeys. It was great.
Can I go to the
Um,
next one?
yes, right. Well, and so here's an interesting point that you bring up. Because we've moved to 100% online
Hmm.
culture, we've had to supplement, right? So now our kids, my daughter yesterday was in an art class that's hosted by one of my business partners, has a daughter that's at the Pratt Institute for Art Therapy. She teaches art class twice a week to our kids online, and they all know each other now. We do a cooking class every 2 weeks from one of our executives. Her spouse is a former professional chef.
Wow.
We took one of our guys in Mexico and did a tequila history lesson and tasting, and had everybody have the tequila at their house, and families gathered around for this like lesson. And now we're starting to open those up to our external stakeholders, right? Clients, referral partners, prospects. So now the 5 culture is actually becoming easier to create a wider tribe, and it's because of COVID, right? COVID has given us this
Hmm.
place where we were already there, but I don't think the world was as ready to be sharing their own video cam and sitting in front of their kitchen table with kids and dogs running around.
Yes.
And now
I
that's
think it,
very different.
yeah, I think that brings what you talk about before about vulnerability, right? That you can see where that person lives, and that tells you a lot about that person. And before, you just
Yep.
see this person in a jacket or in a suit, and that's what you know about this person. And now, you have pictures on the back, or you have books, and you have many things that talk about that person.
I
And
always love, I
well,
have 4 kids, and when the kids are screaming or one of them comes running in here and he's, covered in dirt, I'm like, well, this is my 2-year-old, and you get to know
yeah,
him now. Um, One thing that we did, because we're so big on the fact that human connection matters, but all business is human business. It's
right.
just the details of what you do with that. On day one, we created a cares team, and there was 7 of us. And the goal was to make sure that we did a check-in with every member of our company every single week.
Hmm.
And then we would every 2 or 3 weeks do a cares team check on ourselves, like so the group would share where they were and what we were struggling with. And the 2 questions are fascinating. The first question is, how are you today? Not
Hmm.
how are you overall. Nobody ever answers that the right way, but how are you today? Gives some insight into what today is for you. The second question is actually the big tell, which is, and I've asked this to Lila. Lila, who in your life are you concerned about, or do you think about a lot during a time of social isolation, health issues, or financial crisis? And now I get to know who got laid off, who's at high risk, who's high risk but still has to go to work. And now you actually know the answer to the first question, because by asking who you're concerned about, most people are more concerned about somebody else than they are about themselves. It's the nature of
Hmm.
worry. You get to figure out where's anxiety and who's rising up that path, so that you say, we need to triage this. How can we get around this employee and support them? Can we send them surprise notes or
Hmm.
packages? Can we do something cool? We had a baby shower a week ago, where when the person got on Monday morning for the big call with the whole company, every single person's virtual background, Lilo had created it. It was for baby Andy, who was going to be due the following week. And this girl started crying because she had a virtual surprise baby shower at an all
Wow.
company meeting. So how can you A, recognize areas that need to be focused on, and then B, be a little bit more creative in today's environment on how you're going to support them. Just throwing
Right.
flowers on somebody's desk isn't going to work.
Right. And this is something that a lot of companies struggle with, or um, so the culture that you have, many companies don't see the benefits of that. Like they say, well, this is not. I talk to many people because that's the type of culture that I train other companies with, and when I talk about that, they say, well, no, I mean, you have to sell. I mean, that's the most important part, production, production, production. So, no,
Sure.
I mean, what are you talking about? That's not in this world, right? So, but yes, there are companies that are like yours that are, effective in what you're doing, are productive. You're making money, right? Or you're
I
just
have so many
donating
things to
everything.
say about this. One is, we just repeated 4 years in a row on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America. So that's compounded, and we'll get it again
Fastest
this next year.
growing. So not
Yes,
only the best place to work, but also fastest
we
growing.
did both of them 4 years in a row.
Mm,
The Inc. one that you just saw was 4 years in a row. So culture and growth. We've also
wow.
won Entrepreneur Magazine's most innovative companies. I mean, we keep winning these awards, and they're just external visualizations of our internal reality.
Hmm.
Um, but if I'm ever talking to somebody who wants to debate me on the merits of culture, and I want to get down to their driver, and they believe that their driver is making money, which truly, actually, if you know the human heart, it's actually not making money. That's the same as me saying that my body was put on earth to pump blood and breathe oxygen, which is complete farce, right? Like, it has to do those
Yeah,
things.
you
My
need to
company has
do
to make
that,
money.
right? Of
Yes,
course, to
it's not
survive.
why
But
I live. Yeah.
hmm
Then I go through this, like, let's figure out how much money you spend to replace your employees when they leave. Let's see how much time you spend with people complaining about how much money they make. Let's see how much time you spend in the infighting, or people who are not nearly as productive because they can't stand their boss, or they think somebody's out to get them. I mean, let's fill in the blank. And now let's talk about just dignity, as if dignity means culture for a second. A dignified workplace, a place where you treat everybody as fully formed adults, where you create trust and transparency, and you let people surprise you. Turns out, if you were greedy, for, let's just say, greed is a great place to be, it's all about money. Why not put real dignity in the workplace? Because I can spend less money, less cost of goods sold,
hmm
to make more money with higher quality, with a faster pace, with less management, with no little to no legal help or HR help whatsoever. And you got to have some talented people that have like an emotional IQ to be able to help guide some of the toughest decisions. But guess what? Then somebody says, well, what do you do when somebody's trying to rip you off, use your expenses, whatever it is? That's like the 1%. Somebody like me will deal with the 1%. I'll deal with the bad actor. I'll deal with the one person that needs to exit because their their core values are somehow in conflict with ours.
Right.
But most of those people, they get pushed out by the system because they don't want to be around a culture like ours.
Exactly.
So the ROI of dignity is where it's at for somebody who can't handle that this is just about feeling good. It's not about feeling good. This is about solving problems and taking on major challenge and high-fiving that business is a team sport, not an
Hmm.
individual sport.
Yeah.
And I want to be on that championship team that has a banner for every single year up at the top of their stadium,
Hmm.
not the one where I got a trophy and the rest of my team lost a couple $1,000,000.
Right. And you also mentioned innovation. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So all this type of culture is also improving innovation. How
Oh,
about that?
it's like giving a free pass for people to be creative
Mm.
because they know the vision of where we're trying to get to,
Hmm.
and the talent of the people around you is all you usually need. You just haven't unlocked it because you're probably somehow dampening their spirit and their
Hmm.
desire to
Yeah.
contribute at a higher level.
And even in COVID, how do you feel? Is that being affected, or for you, you keep having those innovative ideas?
It's actually through the roof because more and more people are saying, I have an idea on a way that we can
Mm.
jumpstart this part of our business. Or I look at even just take our development team. Our development team is a bunch of coders who love the team that they're a part of, but
Hmm.
we get in their way all the time in the office because we're distracting them with questions.
Right.
They are pumping out projects faster than
Yes.
ever. And then they
It's
love jumping on these
amazing.
Zoom chats because it gives them the appropriate amount of socialization and then right back in. So it's actually kind of, I don't want to say we're going to leave them there when the offices are all reopened, but we've changed where people that you used to give them the freedom and say, you can work from home. Now they realize they can work from home and they want to own that. So even when I say, are you going to come back to the office when it opens? People say,
They
no,
want to be
maybe
quiet. No.
once a month. I'm like, all right, we'll see you when we see you. And if you need us, we're going to keep checking on you every week. And we're going to keep working with you every day. But we start every day, by the way, with like people call it a stand-up meeting. We call it TMZ from the Goofy show about celebrity gossip. Everybody has their coffee. There's a question of the day, and you tell
All
everybody,
together in the
yeah,
same Zoom? Wow.
yeah, and it's whoever wants to show up can show up, but it's usually 20 to 30 people. And we say, here's my one thing that I'm going to do today that I want you guys to know about, and we might ask a serious or a goofy question. Um, so with all that said, we end up having a lot of points of contact.
Wow.
I know we're
Wow,
right at
that's
2:30.
amazing. And I was laughing about these coders because I feel the same way. Sometimes I feel like more innovative, like I'm at home, like you have time to look around and see, oh, you have more time because you're not traveling and your mind is, looking at different things, and you get truly inspired sometimes. So
Absolutely.
it's good to have this positive approach because maybe in the future you can choose if you can work from home or not, but now
Yeah,
you're pretty much stuck. So let's get the best out of that, right?
absolutely.
Excellent. So Jeff, Lila, I mean, all those ideas are super great. I would love to talk with you for hours.
Same.
So, are there anything else? Is there anything else that you'd like to mention, like a challenge that you'll tackle right now, or any recommendation for other companies? Because yours is a small company, right? So other small companies can do that too. It's not only for Google, right?
I'll give you a challenge, and the place that I want any listener or person who reads from you to start is at their home. And the
Mhm.
challenge is that all of our words matter, and that our words can build or our words can destroy. I'm getting a Zoom call. When somebody is giving information or rambling or interrupting, one of our trigger responses that we say is, I don't care. Like,
Mhm.
Lilo, I don't care, just do it. You got this, I don't care. And then I don't care is such a deflating moment for somebody who's
Mhm.
putting their work out there and putting themselves into that work.
Yes.
And that's three syllables, three words, and you can flip it on its head and say, I trust you. Now I say, I trust you, Lilo, you got this. Hey, I'm busy, I trust you. Will you just take care of it? I trust you. You imagine when my wife says, do you want to do this evening? Or, do you want me to figure this out with this vacation rental? And I say, I don't care. She's like, I just spent an hour online and you don't care. When I say,
Hmm.
babe, I trust you, that,
Yeah.
yes, I completely trust you.
Words
That
are
is
so
such an
important.
empowering, yes.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
anybody,
Like
you
the
could be
you and the
Google.
we, right? The same
Yes,
thing. Just
yes,
words, but can change how you get a
everything.
conversation, or can change your day actually, right?
Yes. But if you tell too many people this, then you say, I trust you to somebody, and you say, you don't care. Um, so
Yeah,
it can
right.
backfire.
That's a secret. We're not gonna talk about it. But I'm gonna use it. Yes. Thank you very much for the advice.
Yes.
So wonderful, Jeff, Lilo, or Lilo. Sorry.
You're good.
Thank you very much for all these advice. I will read the trial leadership book. Now you got me interested into that. I
I
was
love it.
googling it, but now I really wanna read it. Thank you very much, and well, if there's anything we can do for you, just let us know. But I will share with you the information I can, if YouTube or podcast, so that you can share it
Sure.
too. Um, Again, thank you very much, and please be safe.
All right. High five.
Okay.
Take care.
You too.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.